What if the most unsettling address in the British monarchy isn't guarded by crowds or crowned by ceremony, but hidden behind trees where history whispers instead of shouts? Deep inside Windsor Great Park, beyond public footpaths and royal pageantry, stands Royal Lodge, a cream-white mansion that has witnessed the monarchy at its most human and eventually its most embarrassing. Its story begins quietly in the 17th century as a simple ranger's cottage built not for power but for practicality, a place for keepers to watch over royal hunting grounds. Over centuries, it expanded almost accidentally, becoming a discreet refuge rather than a symbol, and that discretion is precisely what drew the most vulnerable members of the royal family to it. In the late 1930s, Royal Lodge became a sanctuary for Prince Albert, Duke of York, a man never meant to be king, crippled by a stammer and terrified of public speaking. In its gardens, he practiced speeches aloud, pacing gravel paths, repeating words until his voice steadied, preparing not for glory, but for survival. When he became King George VI, Royal Lodge remained his escape from the suffocating weight of the crown, a place where leadership was rehearsed, not performed. His daughters, Princess Elizabeth and Princess Margaret, experienced a rare slice of freedom there, racing through the trees, laughing without protocol, retreating to a small play cottage built just for them, a fleeting illusion of normal childhood inside an institution that rarely allows it. After George VI's death, Royal Lodge passed to Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, and under her care it transformed again, this time into a living archive of memory. She reshaped the grounds into lush gardens, filled the interiors with warmth and color, and turned the house into a floral sanctuary where grief softened into routine and tradition felt personal rather than political. Royal Lodge during these years was not grand but beloved, hosting family gatherings that reinforced the monarchy's internal bonds during decades of change. Yet royal houses, like royal reputations, are rarely stable across generations. When the Queen Mother died in 2002, Royal Lodge entered its most controversial era. Prince Andrew, once admired as a Falklands War helicopter pilot and long seen as the Queen's favored son, secured a 75-year lease on the property, an extraordinary agreement that required him to fund renovations himself. Confident, ambitious, and increasingly disconnected from public sentiment, Andrew poured millions of pounds into restoring the mansion, upgrading interiors, and reshaping it into a private stronghold he believed would protect him indefinitely. The lease gave him confidence. Isolation gave him blindness. As the years passed, Andrew's associations, most notably with Jeffrey Epstein, began to erode his standing. When allegations surfaced and legal pressure mounted from across the Atlantic, Royal Lodge shifted from refuge to bunker. His disastrous 2019 television interview accelerated the collapse, stripping him of public duties and military titles. Inside the gates, life contracted, staff numbers shrank, maintenance was deferred, paint peeled, roofs leaked, and once pristine rooms began to show visible decay. The mansion, like its occupants' reputation, was aging badly under pressure. Repair bills rose into the millions, costs Andrew could no longer realistically meet without public funding the monarchy was unwilling to justify. Royal Lodge, once alive with family warmth, became silent, defensive, and increasingly symbolic of entitlement frozen in denial. Then came a turning point the monarchy could no longer postpone. With the accession of King Charles III, the royal strategy hardened. This was a slimmer, more pragmatic monarchy, focused on public trust and financial transparency. Royal Lodge, expensive, decaying, and politically radioactive, stood out as a liability. The message was unmistakable. The institution would not carry what it could no longer defend. Andrew was instructed to vacate. What followed was not merely a dispute over property, but the final chapter in Royal Lodge's transformation from refuge to warning. Today, the house stands as one of the most revealing structures on the royal estate, not because of its architecture, but because of what it proves: that privacy without accountability becomes isolation, that privilege without purpose corrodes, and that even inside Windsor Great Park, history does not protect those who refuse to confront it. Royal Lodge is no longer just a home, it is the quiet anatomy of how a monarchy survives by letting something fall away.